Hello guys and welcome to another Ravendawn video. In today's video we're gonna be talking about a peculiar build that I personally been enjoying a lot. This one is called the Confessor and is more focused towards group content, meaning GvG kind of stuff, big fights, than a solo type of a build. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So what exactly is the Confessor? Well, the Confessor is a combination of archery, protection, and spiritual. Now, this is a very strong in meaning like survivability wise a build, because you get all the shields and the utility from spiritual and protection, and your main archetype, as in damage dealing, CC, and so on, is going to be archery. Archery on itself is a very strong archetype. You get stuns with a concussive shot. You get a confusion type stuff, like concussive shot with down arrow. You got the anti-heal with venom grenade. You got a literal snare with snaring shot, and then you got a a armor shred with dragon's arrow. You got the AoE. You also got a massive amount of burst damage with spiritual rangers. You also got your you can continuation of that damage with quick fire. That overall is a very strong archetype. It has a very good passives like Mark for the Death and clever adaptation that increases your damage, and Mark for Dead, it also armor shreds the enemy. So the combination of Mark for Dead and Dragon's Arrow is very strong. On the other hand, you got protection, which gives you that sustain with Spirit's Resolve in combination with Spirit Shield, that together it increases the healing power, right? If I recall correctly, yeah, increases the healing you receive while it's active by 20%, and the combination of a Spirit Shield with a Meditate passive or spiritual makes it so Spirit Resolve is very strong. Now, you also get your Banner of Protection that increases, either it gives you more sustain, more defense, or you can do it with damage. That also works. Then you have your anti-CC, which is the Unchained, and your anti-burst, which is the Unbreakable. And at the end, you have your shields with the spiritual, that you got your barrier, your force push, your air aura. These three are shields, and then you got a adaptive damage buff kind of thing called Windstrike Spirit, which is really freaking good. And lastly, one of the biggest and best freaking abilities in the game when it comes down to GvGs, which is the Typhoon. And obviously haste in combination of quickfire and Windstrike is an absolute badass thing, right? So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking for here. Sort of, I just realized that with my camera was taking. You couldn't see these right here, but now you should be able to see it. That kind of gives you the idea. Obviously, I am effective level 59. This could be even better by increasing your passives, getting that giant's blood, increasing the passive, careful aim, blitz, and so on. There's definitely different ways to make this even better. But what matters is the idea. The Confessor idea is a very strong, especially if you go into a hybrid way. What do I mean by hybrid, right? There's different paths that you can take. The one I chose to was going spell power. So the barrier that I get from the barrier, pretty much, is strength is increased by 112% of my spell power, right? And then down arrow also scales of spell damage, right? So these two right here get its benefits from my spell power, which is really good. And lastly, well, the Windstrike also gets that adaptive damage. I don't know how much of the adaptiveness of spell power it is, but again, it's just a little bit of a crazy idea I had. This is not something you should do or you want to do. It's just a little idea. Maybe you can go full might instead of like a hybrid thing that I'm doing myself. I can show you my gear now. My gear is, as you can see, my stats is it has a bunch of intelligence. I'm going all might, a little bit vitality, a little bit of wisdom and dexterity, just to get a little bit of haste in there as well. So when I activate the haste, it doubles, and it helps me as well with the Windstrike. And I will show you what I mean here in a moment. But more importantly, my equipment. This is all pure experimentation. I've been having a lot of fun with it, but maybe it will give you an idea on how to create something unique and a lot of fun, right? So I'm going with Dexterity Might and Spell Power as my secondary attributes. Vitality Might is Spell Power. As you can see, there's a trend here, right? You want Might, Bite, Vitality, you know, you want those things, and everything you want Spell Power, right? My bow is a hybrid bow, which has Intelligence, Might, 12 Impact, and Spell Power, right? So the idea is that I don't need to put a lot of points on Intelligence. I'm already getting them from the equipment on the runes. I don't know if you see the runes. I have some runes and the Intelligence coming as well from my weapon, right? That alone already gives me 57 Intelligence. That will increase not only my healing power, but it also will increase my spell power. And as you can see, I have 179 points in Might, and I'm not that far behind on spell power. My spell power is in 291. So if I were to buff up right here, now you can see my spell power is at 329, while my weapon power is at 385. So I'm able to hit fairly okay, but more importantly, my abilities that uses the spell power, which is not many, but again, it really makes a difference when you are like fighting and you put on the barrier and it tanks a lot of stuff. It really feels good. In the future, obviously, you could also get the Blessed Earth, Smithing Smash and Blessed Earth, because Blessed Earth also scales off spell power, right? So that is the idea once I increase the effective level, so you can also bring in as Blessed Earth. But it's a very interesting way of taking these, because if you don't really bring in any intelligence or anything like that, spiritual doesn't really bring a lot of stuff. It is just, like, for example, if I continue this path, my healing Earth Sphere and my party recovery will actually have an impact in the future. Not an impact as a healer, but it will have an impact nonetheless, right? Like, it will be significant, but not as significant as a pure healer would. But you see what I'm trying to say here, right? So I'm gonna show you now what a combo for, you know, like a burst damage, let's say. So I'm gonna attack a Yornish here. And the idea is to take Wind Strike, right? You take Wind Strike, Dan Arrow, right? You attack with your Armor Shred, you put the Haste ability, and then you just, what's the name? Quick Fire. It sounds like a crazy combo, but in reality is that Wind Strike can be used right after, like, it has his own cooldown, right? Global cooldown. So you can actually use it right after any ability. And the damage output of Wind Strike is very good, especially when you put it with haste. That increases that attack speed. And also because your basic attacks of Wind Arrow are actually increased the damage by 30% of your haste, right? So not only are you making it so your next 8 basic attacks, thanks to your Dan Arrow, have that Sun Arrow effect that increases the additional damage by 40% spell damage, but you are also getting that additional damage from your haste. Thanks to your haste, you get a lot of you know, that quick fire. You see, I think you're starting to understand what I'm trying to say here, right? So you get that Wind Strike, that Dan Arrow, plus that haste into quick fire combo is very freaking strong. Very freaking strong. You do a lot of damage. You will melt through enemies, which is very nice, especially if you throw that Dragon's Arrow first. Dragon's Arrow first is super important to be to initiate with, because Dragon's Arrow passive, here, let me remove the card so you guys can see which one I'm talking about. Dragon's Arrow passive, Draconic Crusader, targets that stands on the burning ground affected by Dragon's Arrows receive a defense power reduction based off 8% of your attack power. So it's very important to have that card. Super important. And again, you can do that combo. You can do it especially thanks to the down arrow if they don't use Unchain or anything like that. Like the down arrow effect, that it shoots an arrow in a small area and targets in the affected area will become blinded and confused for 2.5 seconds. It's super important, right? Because that would be 2.5 seconds of them not being able to react to your damage, right? And that right after that, you can follow it up with a concussive shot using the same ability, well, the card called Pirate Canyoneer, which generates 20% ether and applies a confusion state for 2.1 seconds, which is super good. It's very similar to that down arrow effect, right? So you want to keep them in a way where they cannot use their own stuff. Now, if you're fighting against somebody who can heal itself a lot, you should also throw in there the Venom Grenade and so on. But again, I think you see the potential of this build. This build has a lot of survivability, not only due to the protection and on-chain effects that you can put with different cards, but you also get all those shields that will keep you alive for quite a bit without a single problem. As you can see, we're taking a lot of damage here, and I'm just showing it on purpose so you can see and get an idea just how good of survivability you can get. I can actually show you, maybe have a couple of clips on previous wars and stuff like that. But it's definitely a very interesting build to look for, right? And again, the Typhoon is just a major asset for fighting in GvGs or group content when you are fighting against a big group of enemies. The Typhoon is an ability that will help you set up for a major combo. So if you're in comps with your teammates and you are about to combo somebody down, what's the name? With a bunch of AoE, the best way to start this combo is with Typhoon. Now, don't be confused though. In Typhoon, you should not be taking the Saurian Stormcaller. This is not a good card. It is very bad. The card that you actually want to be taking is the Shark Hydromancer. You want to make sure you take the Shark Hydromancer because it works way better than the other one. Remember that. If you don't believe me, go ahead and test it. But sorry, but it's definitely way better. So for the cards on the other abilities, you want to take on Gas Archer. You want to take on Rain of Arrows the Gas Archers to get that dot damage, the burn effect, which is really good. You want to take the Skeleton Archer if the target is affected by any reduction of weapon defense spirit. The ranger deals additional 16% damage to it. I believe you already have an idea on how this would work because again, Draconic Crusader, the Dragon's Arrow with a Draconic Crusader card will automatically apply that defense debuff for 6 seconds, and so you can literally start with Dragon's Arrow into Spirit Ranger and then the full combo that I just mentioned earlier with Quickfire and everything else to absolutely nuke somebody out of the game. Literally, again, but everybody has different ways, different things that they're playing with, so it's what's the name, it's very difficult really to be able to pull something like that off because everybody's using their defenses in different ways, right? Okay, so going back into earlier about my equipment, I noticed that I had it wrong. So in my trinket, so I'm taking the weapon defense passive because again I want to be tanky. This build is more to be able to help my teammates than trying to make myself be useful in any way. I don't want to solo, I don't want to clutch, I don't want to be the hero, I want to assist the hero, right? So that's what I want to do with this build. On my rings, I'm taking the Sigil of Fortitude, which increases my might by 14 and vitality by 12. And my second is increasing my wisdom by 16 and intelligence by 12. So both are very strong rings, which I highly recommend you to take. Now, if you do reach level 71 though, there is a quest over here that gives you even a better ring for this kind of build, which I haven't done it, I need to work on. But yeah, anyway, so that's pretty much it. I think I think it's a great build. It's something we're gonna see a lot on GvGs when the GvGs come out. You're gonna either see these or you're gonna see Wizardly here instead of Archery, which would be the Blackguard. So you can do something like this with Wizardly, and which already scales of intelligence. So you already have an advantage because you can go full intelligence and spiritual will stay strong. Or you go with archery, which again will kind of like, you don't have to be forced to go, you can go full might if you want to and focus 100% archery and just have your protection being your second main archetype and spiritual your third, like kind of support kind of thing. But your shields and stuff are not gonna be as strong as you would hope for. But again, this is a really fun build that has a lot of utility and has a purpose on big fights, and that's what I like it a lot. But yeah, anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them on the comment section below. I will be more than happy to reply to any comment you have. All that feedback and everything is absolutely welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like. I think I said that already. I hate this. I hate outros. Thank you so much for watching. Again, take care of yourself. Have a wonderful rest of your day, week, weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.